If a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, what's the significance of a clean desk? So let's talk about the cycle of completion. So it's called the cycle of completion, and there's steps. There's decide, plan, there's start, there's continue, there's finish, and there's complete. It's required to succeed in anything we do to get the desired result to finish. Yet how many of us never actually complete our task? We get all the way through to the finishing stage, but we leave one last thing undone. There are areas in your life where you've left unopened projects and failed to get closure with people. When you don't complete the past, you can't be fully free to embrace the present that you're in just now. So when you start making a project or making an agreement or identified a change and need to make, it goes into the present memory bank and it takes up what we call an attention unit. We can only pay attention to so many things at one time, and each promise, agreement, or item on your to-do list leaves you fewer attention units to dedicate to complete the present tasks and bring in new opportunities and abundance into your life. So why don't people complete? Often incomplete represents areas in our life that we're not actually clear about, or we have no emotional or psychological blocks. For instance, we have a lot of requests, projects, and tasks and other things on our desk. You really want to say no, but you're afraid because you might be perceived as the bad person as a result of saying no. So you put off responding in order to say no. This is a classic, how people say, "Let me think about it," when you ask them for an answer. That's a nice, subtle way of saying no, but they don't actually want to say no because they feel embarrassed, fearful, in case they get rejected because they're saying no. You know, that's a classic. If somebody does say, "Let me think about it," it really does mean a polite way of saying no. So you need to get a yes, definitely. Or you need to come to terms with the fact that it's a no. But turn it around to a yes. Meanwhile, the sticky notes and stacks of paper pile up and you distract you. There are many circumstances in which you have to make decisions that are difficult or actually uncomfortable in what you're doing. So rather than struggle with discomfort and let the incompletes pile up, some incompletes come from simply not having adequate systems in place, knowledge or expertise to handle these tasks, or incompletions pile up because of our bad work habits. How many people have that sometimes? Raise your hand. Everybody has it. You just have to understand the processes in order to eliminate it, or to get over it, or to get round that challenge. That's how people become successful, because they find out how to get over the obstacles, or how to get round obstacles, or under obstacles that stand in their way. So remember to get into a completion consciousness. This is what you're going to work on. Continually ask yourself, what does it take to actually get the task completed? Then you can begin to consciously take this next step in fulfilling and filing these documents in your mind, mailing the forms required as well, or reporting back to the boss when the project has actually been completed. The truth is that 20 things that completed have more power than 50 things that are half completed. One finished book, for instance, can go out and influence the world better than 13 books you're in the process of actually writing. Rather than starting 15 projects at the end of incomplete and taking up space in your house, you're better off just starting on 3 and actually completing them. This is classic when you look at examples in industry. Look at British Airways or any plane company. When they have a plane that's delayed, what they do for the delay is to put all the passengers on delay. They don't take these passengers and put them on the next plane. They actually just keep these passengers delayed, and they keep everybody else moving in time, so it doesn't have a knock-on effect. So they rather delay one plane than delay every plane right throughout the process. And it's the same when it comes to tasks in your mind. You have to think about the same logical process. If you can't get that one in time, park it aside, go into the things that you can do and get them done. You will feel a complete sense of fulfillment in that, and the fact that you're actually getting maybe 9 done out of 10 rather than actually delaying every single one, and every single one's late and not in time, and then you actually feel a failure at the whole process. But yet, even though they're delayed, these 10 projects are delayed, but you actually completed them, you still feel that you didn't do enough to get it done. Whereas if you completed the 9, you'll be overwhelmed and overjoyed and feel grateful, and your self-esteem will raise as a natural result of that process. So one way to take care of the to-do items is something that we've all seen in time management processes. The 4 Ds: do it, delegate it, delay it, or dump it. When you pick up a piece of paper, decide then and there whether you'll ever do anything with this. If not, dump it. You can take care of it within 10 minutes, do it immediately. If you still want to take care of it yourself, and you know it might take a bit longer, delay it by filing it in a folder of things to do later. If you can't do it yourself or you want to take time to do it, delegate it to someone you can trust to accomplish the task, but be sure to have that person report back to you when he or she finishes the task, so you know that it's actually complete. There's 2 processes here. There's called delegation and abdication. Abdication is when you delegate something to someone and never actually ask them to report back to you on what happened, and never have accountability. You just wash your hands of it. You need to delegate, not abdicate. So making space for something new. In addition to professional incompletes, most households are also growing under the weight of too much clutter and too many papers and worn out clothes, unused toys, forgotten personal items, effects, obsolete or broken items, unneeded items. I mean, in most countries, including United Kingdom and United States, there's an entire mini storage industry that has sprung up because new homeowners don't want to let go of the past, and they keep all that junk. You remember all these auction companies on the television programs. I've found this and I've found that. And it's like there's thousands upon thousands of units and storage units with unclaimed clutter that people just don't want to let go of. But we really need all this stuff. Of course not, we don't. One of the ways to free up the attention units is to free up your living and working environments from the mental burden of all this clutter. When you clear out the old, you also make room for the new, remember. So congratulate yourself for doing that. Take a look at the clothes in the closet, for instance. If you've got one of those where you can't put another thing into it in your closet or your wardrobe, then you struggle to put out your dress or your shirt. This may be the one reason that you need to have a clear out in order to do that. There's nowhere to put them as a result. If you have worn something in 6 months and if you haven't worn something for 6 months and it's not seasonal or special occasions item, then or it's an evening gown or a tuxedo, then get rid of it. It's just going to sit in your cupboard for the rest of its days, and you're not handing it down to your kids. They'll not want it. If there's anything new that you want in your life, you've got to make room for it. It just includes your brain as well. You can't keep filling up your brain with the clutter. I mean, psychologically as well as physically. If you want a new person in your life, you've got to let go and forgive the last one you stopped dating 5 years ago. Because if you don't, then the new person that you meet will pick up the unspoken message that you've actually still attached to this person from 5 years ago. One of the women in Jack Canfield's seminars admitted that for years she kept piles of books and magazines on her bed in a collection that covered half the actual space on her bed. She also mentioned that she suffered terribly from a broken romantic relationship. It was instantly obvious to him that covering half her bed with piles of reading material was her unconscious way of making sure that there was no space for another person in her life to be romantically interested in her. Not only had she failed to complete the past, but part of that had been afraid to being hurt again, and making the darn sure that similar unwanted future did not pop up as a result of that. After helping her, she saw the connection between the self-imposed barrier and the lack of romance in her life, and she used the EFT tapping to release her fear of being hurt. And we've talked about this before, the tapping process. Clearing the clutter off the bed and making the bedroom inviting and welcoming again, within her months, she met a wonderful man who'd become the love of her life. Now, that process, it wasn't just the clearing out of the bed, it was psychological as well, because it has a clearing process in her mind. So Jack's good friend Martin, once told him that whenever he wants to bring in new business, he thoroughly cleans his office, home and car and garage. And every time he does, he starts getting calls and letters from people that want to actually work with him. Others find that doing spring cleaning helps them get new clarity on problems and challenges and opportunities in relationships. When we don't throw out the clutter and the items that we no longer need, it's as if we don't trust our ability to manifest the necessary abundance in our lives to buy new ones when we need them. But incompletes like this keep the very abundance that we desire from showing up. We need to complete the past so it's our present and has space to show up more fully in our future. And I'll see you tomorrow.